we welcome you here tonight. I'd like to call this meeting to order. If you'll stand, we'll have our invocation and our Pledge of Allegiance. Let's pray, please. Heavenly Father, we give you the praise and we give you the glory for this day and for all the blessings you've provided for each one of us. We would ask, Lord, that you would join us here in these chambers tonight as we deliberate the issues of our city. We pray, Heavenly Father, that those decisions that are made here tonight will be in the best interest of those that we serve. And we make our prayer in your Son's name. Amen. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. First item on our agenda tonight are some special presentations that I have the honor of doing, and I'm going to ask first if Marty Staten would join me at the podium with anyone who would like to join with her. I'm serious. Y'all can come up if you'd like.
I'm the photographer.
Well, you want to get a picture of all those folks? You're welcome.
I think can I just take a picture on you and Marty?
With the fishing rod? Yeah, sure.
You want to present to her?
You want me to hold the fishing rod?
The certificate?
Oh. Yeah, that'd be good. This is what you came for. Can you see it, Elizabeth? I'm sorry.
That's okay.
What's that?
Why?
Right.
She's always the resident.
She's a mess. Okay, thank you. Marty is a valued employee of the city of Poquoson and certainly a valued individual when it comes to the library of the city of Poquoson. One of the crown jewels, I think, in the city of Poquoson is our library. And Marty, you've certainly been one who has helped that library be recognized across this Commonwealth, and we're grateful to you for that. I know that Marty is the Children and the Youth Services Coordinator. I know she has a big reading program that goes on during the summertime. And she is here tonight to accept from this council the 2010 Outstanding Library Staff Award, and it's awarded from the Virginia Public Library Directors Association. Marty has been with the library 15 years. She's in charge of planning and implementing the youth collection and services. Marty has certainly been the driving force in establishing the Library Family Resource Center, which averages about 80 programs and attended by over 8,000 children and teens and families in the city of Poquoson. Marty started 2 early literacy medias, Read to Me kits and early literacy kits, which include Parents' Choice Award books, DVDs, puppets, just to name a few. Marty initiated the Baby Garden Rhythm and Rhyme Stay and Play for infants and caregivers. Can I bring my grandchildren?
Sure.
Okay. Good. She conducts a teen advisory board. She's annual poetry contest, games, the night and the bake sale to raise funds for various community services, and teen-related educational and informational topics. She certainly is a great ambassador for the city, and while being a great ambassador for the city, she's a great ambassador for the library as well. I know she visits schools on a regular basis and daycare centers. She co-coaches the annual Battle of the Books program in the elementary and the middle schools. Marty works with Friends of the Library and the Kiwanis Club on winter and summer reading programs, which are very successful, and also with the Tab Kiwanis Club on Books for Breakfast program. Marty is certainly responsible for the library receiving 3 mini grants for various reading incentive programs. She seeks donations from local civic and service groups. I can attest to that one, Marty. We on her list every year, and that's a good thing. And she and her team have won, listen to this, she and her team have won 9 Virginia Public Library Directors Association awards, and I think that says an awful lot, not only for Marty, but for the library in general. Again, she's a great ambassador for the city and for the library. She's a very pleasant individual. She's a very honest individual. She has a great disposition, without question, and she really has a knack with children. I think that other localities are envious of us, Marty, because we have someone of your stature. And she certainly serves as a model for all the other libraries in the area. So we appreciate what you do in the city of Poquoson. This council appreciates it. The city appreciates it. And so it is my honor to present to you, Marty, the Outstanding Library Staff Award. It is awarded to Marty Staten, Poquoson Public Library, by the Virginia Public Library Directors Association, awarded the 23rd day of April 2010. And it is a pleasure for me to present that to you. Thank you so much.
Just so thankful and humbled by this. This is, there's never a one-man show. It's a team effort in the city and certainly in the library. It's my privilege to work with a dedicated staff who strive to make your library a place of excellence. We're led by a tireless and forward-thinking director, Elizabeth Ty, and from the director to the page, to the cataloger, to the reference, to circ staff, each one aims to make your library a place of excellence. It's our motto: being small is no reason to be less than excellent. And so I am receiving this on each of their behalfs. But it's my pleasure to be able to serve the youngest members of our community, and that's probably the best job of all. I get to see the babes in arms, and we read Goodnight Moon, and I get to see the youngest ones who come up and say, Miss Marty, I read Matt Sat all by myself. And they learn to love Magic Treehouse and classics and Andrew Clement's books and Percy Jackson, and then apply for college scholarships. So I get the cream of the crop to work with each one of those ages as well as their parents and families, and that's just truly a joy for me. God provided this opportunity for me to work here in this community 15 years ago, and I thank him for that. And I accept this award on behalf of each of the staff who support each other and who work together, doing their part to provide information and enjoyment and discovery and service to our community. Now, summer's coming, and I never come without a prop wherever I am. It's Hook a Book this summer. We're doing a fishing theme, so I hope we'll be seeing each of you there, and bringing your children and grandchildren and each of you, as we have a reading program for all ages. Thank you.
For all of you who came to support Marty, thank you very much. I think she's a special person, and she certainly is deserving of that award. I saw Rob Brown in the audience somewhere. Rob, could you join me here? And I'd like to ask your wife if she'd like to. You don't? Okay. See you, man. Thank you. Rob Brown has served the Industrial Development Authority of the City of Poquoson, I think, since its inception. And while it's probably one of the hidden secrets of the city, these folks have just done an outstanding job under Rob's leadership. in trying to put together an economic development plan that would benefit all of us. I've had the opportunity to work with Rob for many years now, and the one thing that I can say without any reservation whatsoever, he is probably one of the most honorable people that I've ever met in my life. Rob is honest. If you don't want his opinion, don't ask for it. But even if his opinion is adverse to what you think, he does it in a very unique way, and he's always a gentleman about it. And it certainly has been my pleasure, Rob, to serve with you. And I think this slot is vacant, and we're going to miss you there. We're going to miss your leadership. We're going to miss your ideas and your knowledge, because they are certainly deep-rooted. So while it's bittersweet for us, we do want to say how much we appreciate all of that you've done. On behalf of council and the city of Poquoson, I want to award you this certificate of appreciation. It's awarded to Rob R. Brown Sr. for individual service as a member of the Industrial Development Authority from March of 1999 to January of 2010. Thank you, Rob. I appreciate you.
Thank you, Mayor. It's been a privilege to participate in the Industrial Development Authority. The relationships that you're able to build with other community volunteers and with staff people that are direct liaisons is very special. I'll always treasure that. I encourage other citizens to get involved the same way. Thank you.
All right, we'll move on now to the next item on our agenda, which is our audience for visitors. If there's anyone in the audience who would like to address council at this time on any issue, we would certainly like to hear from you now. Anyone? Okay. All right. Let's move on then, please, to approval of the minutes. We have two sessions. If we could take those individually, please.
Okay, Mr. Mayor, I'll make a motion that we adopt the minutes of the regular meeting of April 26th.
Second. All right, we have a motion made and seconded. We adopt our regular session minutes from April the 26th, 2010. Any concerns, comments, questions regarding those minutes? If not, Judy, please.
Councilman Southall?
Aye.
Councilman Freeman?
Aye.
Councilman Marie?
Aye.
Councilwoman Crawford?
Aye.
Councilman Krieger?
Aye.
Councilman Hunt?
Aye.
And Mayor Helser.
Aye.
Mr. Mayor, the motion carried by a vote of 7-0.
Okay, Judy, thanks a lot. And the work session, please.
Mr. Mayor, I make a motion we adopt the minutes of the April 26, 2010 work session.
Okay?
Second.
All right, we have a motion made and seconded. We adopt the minutes from our work session, April the 26th, 2010 as well. Any concerns, comments regarding those? Any questions? If not, Judy, please.
Councilman Hunt?
Aye.
Councilman Krieger?
Aye.
Councilwoman Crawford?
Aye.
Councilman Marie?
Aye.
Councilman Freeman?
Aye.
Councilman Southall?
Aye.
And Mayor Helser.
Aye.
Mr. Mayor, the motion carried by a vote of 7-0.
All right, thank you, Judy. Let's move on to the first and only public hearing that we have tonight. It has to do with school board appointments. Randy, any comments before?
Mr. Mayor, just to, for members of the public may be here, the purpose of this hearing is to receive public comment on persons to be considered for the school board. We have at present 8 persons who have provided applications to us, 4 for the Western District and 4 for the Eastern District. We anticipate you taking action on this at your next meeting.
Okay, and prior to opening the public hearing, let me read those names that we now have. From the Western Precinct, Beth Wilson, who's the incumbent, Robert W. Moses, Stephanie E. Phillips, Angela D. Ward Costello. From the Eastern Precinct, George B. Krokowski, Mark T. Lovell, Alan L. Milton, and E. David Nelson. Are there other names from our audience? Okay. We will then open our public hearing and ask if there are any comments regarding school board appointments. Okay, seeing none, we will close the public hearing and we'll take some action in the next meeting. Okay. All right, let's move on then to unfinished business. The second reading and the final adoption of the fiscal year 2010-2011 annual financial plan. Randy?
Mr. Mayor, this evening, council is considering possible final adoption of the 2011 budget and the associated ordinances and resolutions associated therewith. To try to help you with your discussions this evening, we have color-coded in your package 3 sets of implementing ordinances. The pink is the one that most closely tracks to the original city manager's recommended budget. The principal difference there, as the council is aware, we did have some additional money that became available during the process, and that money is, in this set of resolutions, slated to go to the Fiscal Stability Reserve in addition to the initial allocation. The second, the purple set of documents, is a resolution that has as its cornerstones no tax increase. However, there is a tote fee for solid waste in there. Additionally, using the monies that would become available from that and also available through your markup markdown list, there is $182,000 available to increase school funding from the even mark. That would be money that would be roughly sufficient to allow the school board superintendent to add back those priorities that were of highest value to them, to restore cuts that were necessitated by the school reductions by the state of Virginia. And finally, the green set is very similar to the purple set. The difference is that there are some additional items that were used from the list provided by the superintendent of the school's priorities that would necessitate, in order to balance it, an allocation from the general fund balance of $70,867, but is in pretty much every other way akin to the purple or the second option.
Okay. Anything else?
No, sir.
I
Okay.
got one question for Randy. So you said not in option 1, you did not take into account the increase in tote fees for the $45,000.
That's correct, sir.
What is the increase in the tote fees?
What we discussed was a $1 a month increase, and that comes to slightly more than $45,000 for budgetary purposes. We used that to erase the transfer from the general fund with that minor balance, which I believe is less than $5,000, accruing to that fund, which we know is already going to have a challenge next year in 2012.
That was your number 2?
Yes, sir. That is contained in both the second option and the third option.
Okay, so trash increases in both.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, by $1 a month.
Okay. All right, are we,
I'm ready to make a
any
motion.
comments, any?
Well,
Okay.
Mr. Mayor, I'm ready to make a motion that we adopt the resolution approving the city manager's proposed FY 2010-2011 annual financial plan for the city of Poquoson, Virginia. It's the pink copy, and I don't know, we need to also go through all the ordinances that are attached with that?
Well, you first need to do the resolution.
Okay.
You adopt it, and then you adopt each ordinance individually.
We did the resolution, so we need a second for that then.
Second. Okay, we have a motion made and seconded that we adopt the manager's presented budget to this council. Are there any concerns or comments? Before we take a vote?
Yeah, I have a couple of things that I'd like to talk about, some just general things for the citizens who are watching, because we didn't get to discuss it very much last time. And I put together about 7 slides, if we could look at them. I'll just sit here and talk through them. I think that the citizens need to recognize that we have spent a lot of time talking amongst ourselves, and certainly a lot of time agonizing about this budget, because it is certainly tough. The federal government right now has a $1.6 trillion deficit this year. Well, we can't print money here, unfortunately. The state government basically took $700 million and said, hey, you can pay this in the future back because you just don't have to pay pension stuff right now. but we have to come up and balance our budget as we're going right now. And so I think it's important that we put everything into perspective. So if we could go to the graphs, the very first graph is something that shows that it's a little hard to see. It's real busy, but you've got every city and county in the state of Virginia is represented by one of these dots. And what this shows, if you can see it, is the blue dots are all the cities, and the pink dots are all the counties. And what this shows is for the year 2009, the city of Poquoson had the lowest per capita spending for city operations of any city in this entire state. So we already were very lean in 2009. We were leaner than anyone else in the state. And if people remember, in 2010, the year we're in right now, we cut 10.5 positions. Now, if you look at that, you say, well, gee, all the counties like York County, they do a lot better. But yeah, they do better because they don't have to pay as much for their police. The state police do a lot of things. They have road service that cleans out ditches, that type of stuff. So we already are extraordinarily lean in this city. And if we go to the next slide, this is one that shows, and I know you probably can't see it at home, but people on council are very familiar with this. This shows where all the full-time city employees are, and that big long line is the fire department. That is 30 employees, and people often ask me, well, why can't we get rid of some employees in the fire department, because there's so many? But the thing is, we only have 7 or 8 firemen on duty at any one time. And of those 7 or 8 people that we have to cover the entire city, this is in both fire departments, if we get an ambulance call, 3 of those people are out of the city for a couple of hours, if it's an advanced life support call. So then we're down to 4 or 5 total firemen in the city, and we, on average, get two calls a day for ambulance. So there's about a 6-hour period every day that we only have 4 or 5 firemen, so we really can't cut fire. Police, if you look at the next biggest line, is police. You look at how much we spend on police, and we are one of the lowest per capita expenses for police in the entire state. We're already very lean on police. And the next line is public works, and we're going to talk about that a little bit later. I know when I see our public works people out on the roads working, I see them working around here. You know, sometimes when you drive to other places, you don't see them working as hard, but I see our public works people working when they're out on the road. So that's just a big picture of where our city employees are, and then after that, you can't probably read it at home, but that's all the other places, and it's onesie twosies in other departments, and we're lean there because, as I said, we have the lowest per capita spending of any city. The next graph shows something that's, I think, is really important. We've had some discussions about, and I have to thank Davenport for putting this graph together before. They are here in the audience. This shows that twice a year we don't really have any funds in the city. Basically, we get paid twice a year by the property tax coming in, and when the property tax 5 months later, we get down to a 0 balance, at which time we have no real reserve or rainy day fund. John, I know that you put in the paper that we had a $3.6 million rainy day fund, but the state, when they talk about a rainy day fund, that's money that's set aside separate from operations. And here, we don't have any money set aside separate from operations, and twice a year, we go way down and have very little money available.
Are you talking, you're trying to give this to the council, right, not to the press?
No, not to the press.
Okay.
I'm just, they're here. I'm talking for the
Just want to make sure.
But the thing is,
straight.
the thing is that twice a year, we have very little money, and so I think it's I can't see going after the reserve fund anymore. It's not the way I do my own finances. I mean, I'd like to have, most financial advisors say you ought to have 4 or 5 months worth of money off the side in case you lose jobs. I mean, you lose your job. Well, I mean, we don't have any money here, and I think we need a little bit of cushion. The next graph is one that shows from the city manager. He had put together some guesstimates, and these are, of course, only guesstimates because nobody knows what the future is going to be. But what it shows is that even in the for the next couple of years, if we continue to not give our employees any cost of living adjustments, and we don't do anything at all in our capital improvement plan, no capital improvements, no cost of living adjustments, and other basic assumptions, we still expect problems in the future where we're going to have a deficit. And we can't have a deficit. We're going to have to make adjustments. So this is not the last year of problems at all that we're going to have. And I think we need to be thinking about that as we go through talking tonight, because this is not a one-and-done problem. And the top line shows that if we don't have COLAs and we don't have a capital improvement plan, the amount of money that we need to come up with or things we need to cut are $400,000 to $1 million over the next 5 years. And the bottom line, the blue line, shows that we have to come up with between $5 and $6 million over the next 5 years if we're going to do the capital improvements plan that we have approved. That is what we have approved. And if we give our employees just a cost of living adjustment. And I've got to...
Tom,
yeah.
I'm sorry, with the capital improvement plans, that's something that I was going to mention, so I'll
Sure.
mention it here. I asked Judy earlier in the week to tell me if she could go back over the years and look at the CIP and how often do we actually fund it, because I know since I've been paying attention, it's almost we kind of approve it and then don't fund it. And out of the past 22 years, it looks like we only had funded it 6 of those years. So that's something I agree with you. If we're going to have a CIP, we should look at funding it. That's just one of my things. Sorry.
Okay, and then I'll wrap it up here pretty quick. The next graph is very similar, but it just shows that if we go tonight and we don't start doing what the city manager has recommended, to put about $125,000 into a quote reserve fund, we're going to have to do a little bit more work next year, in addition to taking the risk of running out of money at some point during the year. And that's the difference in the lines. And then the final graph is just things that we're going to pass a budget here in the short order because we have to, but we're going to need continuous improvements through this year to get to next year, because no matter what we do, we're going to have a challenge. And so there's several things that we have looked at, we've talked about, and I'd like to encourage. The first thing is a request for proposal for a transportation maintenance consolidation. That's something that the city manager is working on, so that we're going to go out and try and get some private contractors to privatize some of the utility workers that we were looking at on one of those bars, and do a study to see if that's worthwhile. And I certainly think that's something that we ought to continue. Also, I know, Randy, next year we have a $200,000 lump sum payment going to New Horizons, and we're not paying him anything this year, $200,000 next year. It would be good if we could negotiate that to level out the spending profile, the cost profile some more, the spending profile. Another thing I know, Gordon, you've been working on is the courts and sheriff costs, getting that renegotiated, because that ratio was set back at a time when the populations were different. You and Randy have been working on that. And also on the spending side, let me say again, I really think that in the future, we need to have cost of living adjustments for our city employees, because when Charlie was here, we looked at it some, and we are paying our city employees 15 to 25% less, some of them, than surrounding municipalities, especially police and fire. And I'm not saying give them raises, I'm just saying adjust their salary for inflation, like people who get Social Security and retirement and other things get. On revenue side, I think we ought to consider getting better signage and better directions to the DMV, because the DMV is a bright spot. It makes money. We bring in more money than we spend. I'd also like, Randy, if you could look at the drug task force participation so we can get more drug bust money and also help in the city. And then things that we have been talking about is start getting income from Messick and encourage a marina operator to take over the dock. We've tried that with one public offering, do that again, and also see if we can't get some development out there and develop the big woods to put in a medical facility. So that was just the overall look, and that's why I really do support the city manager's budget, because I think it has a lot of very positive aspects to get our reserve built up, as well as helping out the schools who've been really savaged by the state cuts this year.
Okay, thank you, Tom. Tracy, do you have some comments you want to make now, or?
I'll make them now.
Good, Tom.
I was talking with Carrie earlier in the week, and you know, it's not a good year to raise taxes. But then again, it's never a good year to raise taxes. And while I don't want to increase the tax rate, I do think it's very clear to me that it's simply a decision that needs to be made because it's the right decision. And I would just as soon get it over with and say, we're raising your taxes this year, when I know that a lot of the money will go to the schools, because we cannot underfund our schools. I just feel strongly that it's a hard decision. I don't want to make the decision, but I do want to, I will be voting for a tax increase because I think it's the right thing to do. I also wanted to comment, I talked with Graham earlier in the week. I know that we have you've mentioned it, Gordon, we have a tax relief program for the elderly and disabled, and it needs to be updated because every year, if we don't do the cost of living adjustments or the updating of things, every year a couple of people get kicked out of the program. They qualified last year, but this year they won't because of whatever reason. So and it takes a budget line item, which we don't have in this year's budget, but it's something that I think we should look at, in future years, to updating that and raising some of those numbers to give us as much assistance as we can. And Gordon, I've said this before, I don't know if I've said it from this seat, but I think we need to pay our mayor properly. You do more work than we pay you for. It's not right, and I think we need to budget a salary for our mayor rather than
$110 a month.
And that's just something that I know is not in this year's budget. But I think that there are so many things that are already lean in our current budget. And while I do know that we can pass one of the other two budgets, number 2 or number 3, and it would balance, I don't think it's the best choice. So.
And I will say this to you, Tracy. I appreciate those comments because it kind of makes you feel appreciated. And while
you've earned a vacation.
Well, I may be taking a vacation, but I appreciate that. That's a very nice comment. Okay, anybody else want to comment before we? Kerry, go ahead.
I'll comment. I think you did a really good job getting those numbers and put them together and putting a lot of work into this, and I appreciate it. The only conclusion that you drew from the data, though, that I concur with is the fact that the city does real well with what we do. Now, that we agree on.
Yep.
The rest of it, our fund county goes down just like my checking account. Toward, right before payday, it has a lot less in it than right after payday. And I don't see that being, so different than, like normal life. I'm just more optimistic, I think, than what you indicated. And I think the future is probably going to be better than you think it's going to be. But then, like I say, we just disagree on that. CIP, again, taking it to a personal level, there are a lot of things that I would like to do, but I just can't afford to do it right now. And that's kind of like the stuff that's in our CIP, where maybe we'll have to wait and fund something else next time. Right now, I'm not going to vote for a tax increase. If we had a specific thing that we said we need this particular thing and we need it really, really bad right now, That would be one thing. But we're saying we might need this money sometime after a while. So we're going to take your tax money from you and put it in a little account just in case we might need it. And I don't think that's the way a government should operate, just my personal opinion. But I do think you did a fine job on putting those numbers together, and you gathered a bunch of data and put a lot of time into it.
Okay, are we then ready to move forward on this?
Well, hold on,
Go ahead, Gene. I thought maybe you might want to comment.
Well, I guess I'd like to put the slides back up there.
Okay.
And we'll go back through them again, because numbers mean different things to different people. And different perspectives on numbers is sometimes important. You can make numbers say lots of stories. First and foremost, let me put this out there. In this council's unified position that we're going to take care of the schools. I think that's beyond question, beyond doubt, that we're going to plus up their budget in any of the 3 budget scenarios that are out here, that we recognize that they are important. Second, on the CIP. The CIP, though, is a nice tool for projection, just like our families, and as Councilman Freeman said, you know, it doesn't always work out that you can buy the new car this year. Sometimes you want to put it off till next year. In the meantime, while we've only approved a CIP in 6 of 22 years, the majority of that we've been on council together, we've built 2 new fire stations, a new elementary school, and added on to the high school in those 22 years, all without funding a CIP, just by having the observation that those projects are out there. But just because projects are on a CIP doesn't mean that you can afford everything that you put on there. So fully funding a CIP just means that we're going to take your tax dollars. So what does this tax increase really mean? We've got people saying, okay, well, we're going to increase taxes. Here's what's not in there. We're not going to do a cost of living adjustment for teachers. We're not going to do a cost of living adjustment for our staff, police or fire or teachers, the 3 main ingredients of our workforce. No COLAs are in there. We are going to, are we going to put off a future tax increase by putting away money today that we're going to use tomorrow? No. We still have those same risks that Tom talked to. Those risks are out there. Budgets are budgets. Budgets are nothing more than a budget. It's not what we're not going to spend more without approving it, but there are ways to control the budget. And I guess I'd like to go to Tom's slide on the ebb and flow of money in and out of the city.
Teresa?
Yes.
Yes.
Please, thank you. Anyway, while they're getting that up,
Yes.
the other thing that's not in there is, well, there's no CIP, no COLAs, no tax increase, no teacher raises, no raises for any staff, but we're going to need additional tax money from you for today. So if I was a citizen, I'd be saying, well, what am I paying for? What is it that I'm paying for? And you're going to increase my taxes, what am I getting? Well, you're not getting an increase in services. You're not appeasing or taking care of the primary people that we need to take care of that run this city. But we are going to get some money, and we're going to put it in a fund. $127,000 in a fund. Well, just so we're all on the same page, a 1 penny tax increase is $170,000. So where are the other 2.5 cents going? They're going to plus up the schools in some form, fashion, or another. But going back to, is the cash fund up there, cash flow?
It's on.
Okay, it's on. Tom made a good point. There are 2 times in the year, 2 times in 12 months, that our money gets tight, just like your dollars get tight at home. 10 months out of that year, we have $2 to $3 million in surplus. 4 times a year, we have over $4 million in surplus. If you believe that government does a better job with your money, your tax dollars, than you would be able to do with it, then supporting the tax increase is a good idea. But there's a lot of time up there when, you know what, we have cash and we may have to time our purchases. We may not be able to buy that new school bus. We may not be able to buy that, pay those bonuses in October, November. They're tight months. But I have tight months at home on my own budget. But I don't take the tax dollars and put them in a slush fund for that rainy day when there's not really a rainy day out there. At the end of the day, we have 12 to 15% of unappropriated fund balance available, and option number 2, which is on this plate, doesn't even touch that. So we can balance this budget. We can do this without a tax increase. And is there risk next year? Absolutely. This has been a hard budget year. I've gone through now 11 of these. Every one seems like it builds on itself. Every one gets harder and harder and harder, it seems like. But you know what? It's still the same challenge. It's a budget. I'm not going to increase your taxes. I can't vote for it when I know I can balance the budget, not mess with the unappropriated fund balance, and accomplish the same things that the tax increase would do.
Okay, thank you, Gene. Okay, are we ready?
Well, I'd like to
Go ahead,
clarify some
go ahead.
things that he said.
Go
I don't
ahead.
mean to get into an argument, but Gene made the point that all 3 budgets are going to take care of the schools, and while all 3 budgets will give some money to the schools, budget 1 gives the most money to the schools. And, I mean, it's like taking care of my own kids at home. I can feed them mac and cheese every day, you know, and keep them alive, but that doesn't mean that I'm feeding them well. And I am voting to give the most money that we can to the schools, which is budget number 1. Also, when you were saying we have, 10 months out of the year, we have between 2 and 3 million. When I look at the numbers, it looks like 4 months to me.
I'm not going to argue with you, Tracy.
Okay. And then, you're saying that the budgets are getting harder every year. Well, our
No, I said they seem like they get
okay,
harder.
they seem like they get harder.
But they don't.
Possibly because the numbers that we have are lower than they have
I
been.
thought just like you, when I first came on council 10 years ago, I proposed for tax increases.
Okay.
And I was wrong then.
Okay.
Okay, go ahead, Frank.
Real quick, Mr. Mayor, I guess, schools under option 1 get about $380,000, which satisfies all the requirements. Option 2, $180,000, option 2, $250,000, so they got to pick and choose what they want. I think for fiscal stabilization, having that $137,000 in the bank or in the kitty, I think it's sound to have it. I mean, we can use it for various things during the course of the year if we need to. Obviously, I voted for it. No one likes taxes, tax increase, but I supported it. I proposed the motion. So I guess we just go ahead and vote, unless Bud has something to add.
I have no comment to make on this one. I will have comment to make on the following.
Okay, so have we heard all the comments on the motion, and I'm sorry, was there a second, Judy?
There was a second.
Okay, there was a second, so we're prepared to vote unless there are other comments or questions.
I just want to say one thing to the point that Kerry has, and we've had some discussions, and it really does come down to, I think it is much more prudent to have this money in the budget because, to have a little more reserve, because we haven't been able to do things like Kids Island. If we'd had to pay for that hurricane, we wouldn't have had the money. That's $300,000 that we wouldn't have had if we hadn't had it be a disaster. We had to finance a pump station at $600,000 and a fixing the middle school at $200,000. Now, we did have the opportunity because Davenport was already going out for a bond offering, but Davenport does a great job, but they don't do it for free. And we had to pay $40,000, $50,000, $60,000 to get that bond offering. So, we can't just be borrowing money a couple $100,000 at a time. And if we have if we have something like that, good things happen, bad things happen, and I think we just need to be a little more prepared for the bad. That's all.
Okay. Judy? please.
Councilwoman Crawford.
I'm sorry, I'm clarifying, the vote is
We're
to
voting
pass.
for the first
First budget.
resolution, the first budget.
Aye.
Councilman Hunt.
No.
Councilman Southall.
No.
Councilman Krieger.
Aye.
Councilman Freeman.
No.
Councilman Marie.
Aye.
And Mayor Helsel.
No.
Mr. Mayor, the motion failed by a vote of 3 to 4.
Okay.
Okay, Mr. Mayor, I'll make a motion that we adopt a budget known as budget option number 2, which is the purple color in the packet. This is the one that basically does not touch the unappropriated fund balance. It does maintain the tax rate at 81 cents per hundred. It does have increase in the tote fee, which is $1 per month, for which will bring that account whole. I would encourage us at a later date to discuss the solid waste fee as a general rule about what we want to do with that next year. But as far as rolling it into the tax equation, I think that's a good thing to do. But I stay away from option 3, even though option 3 was my proposal to give more money to the schools. It seems like the majority of council didn't want to use the unappropriated fund balance to plus up the schools. So I'll just stay with option 2, but I would like to see us come back together in about 6 months, take another look at the unappropriated fund balance and where it has gone, and potentially look at giving them a plus up. But that's my
Okay.
my motion is for
I'll
option
second
2.
that, and I have a question.
Go ahead.
If I could get the city manager maybe to elaborate a little bit more on this physical stabilization fund, exactly what is it we're talking about?
In respect to the
Well, you just-
second priority, it is not contained. But the fiscal stability fund, as recommended in the budget, which failed a few moments ago, was to do 2 principal things. One, to serve as a fire break for further reductions, most likely in revenue, through the course of the year. That's its immediate purpose, but its primary benefit would be to position ourselves for fiscal year 12. We know we've got several things coming. We've got debt service increases, we've got New Horizons and other things. And it's, in a flat budget time, it was hoped to begin to build a war chest for things that we know are coming in 2012.
So this was just kind of like pre-approving you a certain amount of money where you could use for those, for whatever came up?
It would be available for the council to use, yes, sir.
Okay. I just wanted to make sure because I wasn't exactly sure what we were talking about with that, with that
Not in
particular
option,
term.
it's not in the option 2.
Well, I know it, but I wanted to know what we were eliminating.
Yep.
All right, Bud, did you say you had some comments?
Yes, I do, Gordon. I've been on the fence with this for a while, and I thought long and hard about option 1, and I looked at the same graphs that we just had up here. We all had the same information from the city manager, and in looking at those graphs, when I see that the general fund balance goes to 0 twice a year, or it has gone to 0 twice in 2 years, and very near 0 a couple of other times, that's no way to run a business. If it was my private business, I would not do it that way. At the same time, I don't want to put the taxpayers' money in a bank account and have it sit there. And it's true that we do have $4 or $5 million in the bank a couple of times a year. That occurs when we pay our taxes. From that point on, it goes down. And to have it to go to 0 is not a way to run a business. When we look at option 2, we see that we don't mess with the unappropriated fund balance. I would not even consider taking that below where it is now. And at the same time, it gives more money to the school to put those 2 teaching positions back in, and to look at the 2 technology positions. But I think a tax increase may be inevitable, but I do not want to do it right now, because when we have a tax increase, I'd like to see it we go someplace other than just the schools. I'm concerned about our police and fire personnel. I really am, especially the lower paid people that work in police and fire. And I'd like to see the budget to include something to, you can't call it a raise, but to catch up just a little bit because we are far too low in the pay for those people. None of the budgets address that. It's not a good time for taxes to be increased in any case, but I think that needs to be addressed. And at the same time, I ran my own graphs, and I tried to fix the places where our surplus funds go to zero, and I wasn't able to do that, and I don't think you can do that without a tax increase. But when we do the tax increase, I think we ought to give some consideration to the public for having options to pay it other than what we have right now, to include maybe quarterly payments on taxes. You know, we have a lot of citizens out there that are retired, fixed incomes, and to give it just pull a number out of the hat, say they paid $1,000 a year income taxes, and they pay that twice a year. Well, one of those times comes up at Christmas in December. Now, if that $1,000 a year tax increase went to $1,300 because we raised it 3 cents this year, if those people have to come up with $1,300 at Christmas time, along with Christmas presents and other things that have to be done in December, that's hard for a lot of people to come up with. And so with that tax increase, I'd like to see some options come up, like maybe pay it 4 times a year, so that in December they pay $600 instead of $1,000, and give them the option 3 months later to do that. So I think we need time to consider something like that before we have a tax increase.
That's well said, Bud, because that would also take care of those 2 dips and the fund balance would remain basically more stable. But I'm not sure that state law allows us to.
The option 2 does not touch the unappropriated fund balance. It stays the same. We get to help the schools a little bit more. We hire 2 teachers. We help with the technology positions. And when it comes to capital improvement plans, I see that we have, and I'm new to council. I've got a lot yet to learn, but we have a 5-year capital improvement plan. But I would like to see the budget say, this year we're going to do these, and that included as a line item in the budget, and have that included in the plan, so that we increase taxes. We know, number 1, where we're going to spend the money up front, and number 2, we give the taxpayers better options to pay it. If they want to pay it biannually or once a year, fine, but at least give them an option for something else.
Didn't we do that this year? Didn't we put in an annual option? I know we had talked about it, but I don't know if it actually got done or not for paying your taxes.
But no one said anything about a quarterly option, okay? And I'm concerned about the people who an annual option, you know, and even a biannual option is a hard thing to do.
Quarterly's better for all of us, but, you know, there's some adjustments, some things that the city, there would be some costs associated with that, but that's not to say that it's a bad idea, because you'd also get the interest on the money, because that's the other thing that a lot of folks don't realize is when that money's sitting in the bank, we're drawing interest.
Yeah, but it would be drawing the people's interest instead of the city's interest.
Right.
I think that's a great idea, Bud, and I'm glad you came up with that. And it's exactly what you say is the taxpayers would have half of their money for that 6-month period, for an extra 3 months, so they can use it, rather than it sitting in a very low-paying state account. I mean, I don't want to have money here just to have money. It's just that when bad things happen, we're going to want to have the money. I had another comment on something else, but that was a very good idea. But what else?
You want to comment before going on?
No, I'd be glad to research how we could do it, and if there's a state code issue, then we'll bring that back to you, because there's nothing that says we can't take that to our legislators and ask them to consider it.
Norfolk does a quarterly tax, pay taxes quarterly in Norfolk.
So it sounds like we have a clear path.
Okay, other comments, questions?
I had one.
Yes, ma'am.
The option number 2 hits a sore spot with me, which is the tote increase. Before we ever left the green bag program and went to the totes, I was on the solid waste citizens committee. And one of the things I said repeatedly is, you're giving us these numbers, but it's not going to work. You're saying it's going to cost this much, but it's just a way for the city to raise those fees again and again. and we've already raised them once since we've gone to totes. It's happening again this year. I'm not happy about that. That's it.
I agree with you on that, but as disagreeable as I think that is, I'd rather have that than a tax increase. But yes, you and I concur on that. We talked about that before.
It's $1 a month, $12 a...
And the other thing is...
But the other part of that was that we need to get together and roll that solid waste fund. We keep talking about it, but we don't do it. We need to roll it into the taxes, okay, so that you can write it off.
Yeah.
Bottom line. But we have to make the time to do that.
Right.
Well, that's not the only fee we need to
Right.
Well,
roll into the taxes.
So we're having a fee increase here of $1 a month, and before when we were talking about a 3-cent tax increase, that worked out to about $8 a month. So, this is much less. Like Tracy, I've got a real problem with funding it from totes, because the totes right now are paying for not only the garbage fees, but they're also paying for the recycling fees, plus they're paying for most of the solid waste collection fees. The solid waste collection fees in 2010 were about $140,000, and we only brought in $30,000. So the real problem we've got here is that collection of solid waste is costing a whole lot more than we're bringing in, and we've talked about this before, and there's 2 reasons for that. One is we don't charge for the first free pickup. So in my neighborhood, what we do is everybody gets a free pickup, so somebody puts it out, everybody adds to that pile, and then you just kind of pass it around, and we never pay. Okay, so that's one thing. The other thing is this fund, this bit right here, also pays for nor'easter cleanup, and that's a good bit of money, because everybody knows when you get a nor'easter coming through here, it's a good time to clean out the garage, because a lot of things have been messed up and a lot of stuff gets put out. And so this is really paying for nor'easters too. But my problem is I don't think the totes should be paying for this bulky waste pickup. It's the wrong thing. That's why I suggested last meeting that we look at increasing, A, we get rid of the bulky waste free pickup, and B, is to help, close the gap. And then I asked Randy earlier today, if we were to get rid of the free pickup, how much would we need to charge to make not have to have the $45,000 transfer and have the bulky waste pickup pay at least a fraction more of what it already costs?
Well, I guess I could take the $45,000 out. I can amend my motion and take it out. But I was actually trying to help the schools, which...
Raise my taxes.
Tracy, you just said you want to do it, to raise my taxes.
You can donate, Tracy.
Got it.
I would like to say that the school board and superintendent did just an outstanding job building that school budget. And this is above and beyond the budget that they have and adopted. And it's not like we're, gutting the schools, to use kind of a derogatory term, but this is in addition to. And yes, they can use it, but we just saw Tom's slide on the city and what the city did last year. And the city is down just, as tight as it can be. Sure. But still, putting this extra money back to the schools is a good idea. But I didn't want people to have the idea that we were deliberately shorting the schools. This is money above their approved budget. And again, they did just a wonderful job putting that budget together and getting it through. And they definitely should be commended. I'm sorry.
We talked at the last meeting about how the schools gave up too much and how we asked them to come back and put back in the three teachers, the 3 para-teachers, a technology person, and some other things, about $380,000. Now we turn around with option 2 and we're going to give them $180,000. That's nowhere near what they had requested, and I think that we're shortchanging the schools by giving them that much. I am against the tote fee raise. I don't like to see it. I think it's a crutch that we keep on using and using and using too much. I think we got to discuss solid waste, bulk waste, whatever, and get that somehow back on its feet. by eliminating perhaps the one free pickup. When the city Public Works, when they do lawn debris, they have a certain size that they restrict it to, so many cubic feet, something like that. I had a neighbor who had too much, and they didn't pick up the entire load of branches and stuff like that. He had to go back in the second time and pay $30 for that. Maybe that's an answer we're looking for also for the bulk waste, is, you know, a certain size of bulk waste or whatever. We can never get away from not doing free pickups after a northeaster or a hurricane. I would never go along with something like that, charging people who have just lost their possessions, whatever. But I think we do need to look at it, and we should look at it soon. And if Councilman Hunt is in favor of amending his amendment, not anymore?
Yep.
All right.
Frank, I would like to agree with part of your position there, and that when it comes to solid waste pickup, I understand we get one free, and then anything after that, the charges are such that they cover the labor charges, and that's not sufficient. That fund is supposed to be self-sustaining. It says so in the charter.
And I think the...
Well, the bottom line is you can't charge just for the labor. The city has to pay for the transportation, and the city has to pay for the disposal, and those charges ought to be included in those.
The motion is a baby step. The motion is, and the option is, and again, not my option here, my option was option 3. I was willing to put more money into the schools, but option number 2, the tote fee is still operating at a deficit. And for us to say that it's okay for us to take $45,000 of tax money and plus it up is, basically saying the fund is underfunded, and all we're doing here is correcting that and then taking off action to go fix that and put it into the taxes. And I think that's, hopefully that we can put that first on our agenda.
What maybe we could do is, the way I read the ordinance tonight, I did not see a single word in here about totes or anything else. All I saw is there was not, a transfer was not going to be made, and we have not determined how we're going to make that fund whole. So if we were to approve this second budget, we could come back in a meeting or two and decide how to go off and make up that $45,000 from within the fund. Is that correct, Randy?
I think it's covered in here.
Does it say totes in here?
No, it's just transfer in and out.
The issue, hand, if I could.
Yes, sir.
Is, as this was not part of the recommended budget, it was not subject to public hearing. We will need to come back with an implementing ordinance, presumably before the first of the fiscal year, if option 2 is passed in its entirety or the variant that's been discussed. Either one is going to require an implementing ordinance.
Okay, that's fine.
So in the verbiage we have right here, there's nothing that says it's going to be a penny increase in totes. We're just saying we're not going to make the transfer from the $45,000 transfer. And we can always take care of $25,000 another night, because we're trying to take care of $23 million tonight.
Therein, Tom, I think is where I need to get involved in the conversation, because we always seem to be able to make it happen. We always seem to be able to make it happen. Gene mentioned the fire stations and the elementary school. We didn't talk about the Little League facility. We didn't talk about the new football stadium that is probably the envy of the Commonwealth. We've done, with the help of this community, we've done an awful lot in the last few years, and we've done it under trying times. There's absolutely nothing solid about a state budget or our local budget. It's never happened. And this year is no different, at least in my view. What I tried to accomplish was to make sure that we funded the schools in the best way that we can. Granted, they would get more money with the tax increase. But I was comfortable with my discussions with the superintendent and the other members of the school board that we would return 2 teaching positions, and that they would make the decision as to whether they wanted technology people or they wanted paraeducators. And that we, and I think the question was asked by Mr. Brodsky, how are we going to guarantee that, money goes to the schools as it relates to the supplies, that as far as I'm concerned, this council's word to the school board that we will take care of any supply issue when it develops. And we've done that for at least the last 28 years that I know of. This city, I think, has done very, very well in some very lean and some trying times. I'm the eternal optimist. I don't think that things will be as bad next year. They really weren't this year, as it was painted initially. They weren't. We've already talked about seed money for Kids Island to the tune of $50,000. That's a fair chunk of change for that. So we're not ignoring Kids Island. We've got representation here tonight that have given their heart and soul to it. And we're not going to watch it go down the tubes. It's just not going to happen. So I am comfortable with option 2. The other piece of information that I thought was interesting was what Graham gave to me, and anybody can go and look at it. But according to Graham's count, we've got 1,552 households in this community that are around the $49,000 mark. Now, I'm going to tell you, with 2 children or 3 children in the school system, and that's what you're bringing home, that's a third of the families we have in this community. And I think that we as a council need to say something to these people. And I don't think the right answer is, we're going to increase your taxes. When the time comes and we have to do it, I'll support it. But we don't have to do it this year. We can make it without increasing taxes. And I think that's the responsibility that, at least my understanding of the responsibility of a member of council is to represent all the people. And I think in some cases, with this tax increase, I think these folks are being left out. And I just don't think we ought to do that. So I'm excited about getting into some of the new ideas. And Tom, you make some great points. And no doubt you put in a lot of work and time on that, and I applaud you for it. Bud, your ideas, there's not a soul on this council that hadn't said something, I think, right and pertinent tonight. And we will come back after this budget, and we will have more questions, and we will have, more times to discuss what we're going to do in the city of Poquoson. But I think the state of the city is in pretty good shape. I believe that. I think it will be next year as well. I'm not really concerned about coming back next year and increasing taxes twofold over what it was because we didn't do it this year. If you ask your representatives at the state level, they paint this gloomy picture, but then they wink at you. So, what does that mean? I don't know. I just think that things are going to be better. We've managed to do an awful lot in the last year, and we've been telling the people in this community we don't have any money. We've been telling them that for the last 10 years. Somehow, it happens. Our schools progress. They do well. Goodness knows we got the cream of the crop in a superintendent and staff. The one thing that we had talked about in terms of our employees was maybe looking. I discussed this with the superintendent, because since our pay plan is so out of date, it's not just giving a COLA to our people. We need to adjust the pay plan. That plan, the day after it was adopted, was really not any good. It really wasn't. And we worked on that for a couple of years, and the night we adopted it, the next day, it wasn't even close to what we needed to be doing. And so, I'm concerned about our employees as well, but we're not going to do it by just giving them a COLA. We need to adjust the pay plan and have them be able to look at something down the road that they're going to, to move forward to. And the school system, same way. But I'm fine with returning 2 teaching positions, or at least supplying the money for the school system to address the major part of their priority list, which was teaching positions, paraeducators, and/or the technology person who was actually going to be part of the city as help us with some of that as well, as I understood it.
Yeah.
So, maybe it's the two birds with one stone is not the right comment, but I'm very comfortable with supporting this option two. Certainly open to the ideas of council, and all of you have made some great points tonight, but I cannot, in good conscience, support a tax increase at this stage of the game, not given these figures. Actually, I was really surprised. I was really surprised at these figures today. We've got 600 families that are probably at the poverty level. So, Tracy, your point regarding the program for the elderly and for those folks and how it's graduated and that kind of thing, you're exactly right. We do need to stay on top of that. I think we increased it last year, was it 2 years ago? We moved it to 40,000, was it, Graham, or 42? And so I think we've tried to keep an eye on that and keep it, moving forward, because we don't want to lose sight of those folks. I mean, they can't do it. And, the program is a good program and one we need to keep in place. Okay. Sorry, I didn't have some graphs to show you folks, so I just don't have it.
As you said, Mr. Mayor, salary increases for city employees, teachers are needed. And it's not just a one-year commitment.
You're right.
When, many years ago, I guess it was, when I was on the school board, it was a 3-year commitment that the council gave to the schools to put like $400K a year in to help raise the salaries. And like you mentioned, after a 3-year period, we're back under the average, pay of everywhere else. So what it's going to take from us all, if we're going to do any kind of salary increases for city employees and for the schools, is a commitment of a couple of years to get them up. We can't do it all at once.
No, you're absolutely right. And you bring up another good point, Frank. That long ago, we were under the gun of our budgets then. Mm-hmm. Yeah. But miraculously, we ended up funding that $400K.
Something like that, yeah.
And I think we're going to be fine. I don't think there needs to be alarm in this community. I think to pass option two is the right thing to do. And I learned a long time ago, tell the folks, how whatever you support, tell them why you're supporting it or why you don't. And I think that's been done expertly here by everybody tonight.
And I still do support option one over option two, of course, because it does give more to the schools. Two in some odd cents and a fraction of a cent would go to reserve. But we'll find a way to manage. We're going to have to work at it, and we'll see.
Okay, we do have a motion made and second that we adopt the resolution for option number 2. Unless there's further discussion, let's move on with it if we could. Judy, please.
Councilwoman Crawford?
I'm voting for option number 2, so I'm voting no.
Councilman Hunt?
Aye.
Councilman Southall?
Aye.
Councilman Krieger?
No.
Councilman Freeman?
Aye.
Councilman Marie?
No.
And Mayor Helson?
Aye.
Mr. Mayor, the motion carried by a vote of 4-3.
Okay, Judy, let's...
Do the ordinance.
Yeah, we're going to do the ordinances next. If someone would, on this side, on the prevailing side, please.
Yeah. Mr. Mayor, I'll make a motion that we adopt an ordinance to lay an 81-cent levy per $100 assessed value on all real estate in the city of Poquoson, Virginia for the general operation of various departments of city government.
Okay.
Second.
All right, we have a motion made and second that we adopt the ordinance appropriating funds to various governmental funds. Was that it? Yeah. Okay.
Councilman Southall?
Aye.
Councilman Freeman?
Aye.
Councilman Marie?
I lost the war. Aye.
Oh, Councilwoman Crawford?
Aye.
Councilman Krieger?
No.
Councilman Hunt?
Aye.
And Mayor Helson.
Aye.
Mr. Mayor, the motion carried by a vote of 6-1.
All right, thank you, ma'am.
Mr. Mayor, I'll make a motion to adopt an ordinance to lay $4.15 levy on all personal property, $1.50 levy on all watercraft, $1.50 levy on all privately owned camping trailers and motorhomes, and an 81-cent levy on all vehicles without motive power used, otherwise known as manufactured home.
Okay.
That was 84, Councilman Hunt. Did you just read that, or did I?
81 cents.
You had to read from the purple.
Oh, I'm on the wrong, never mind.
Carries with us.
That is pretty color.
page.
That is.
I'm having a hard time reading the purple.
Let me get on the right page. trying to be helpful. They'll teach me.
Was there a second? If it was, I didn't hear it.
Not yet.
I'll second this one.
Oh,
There's no
okay,
change. Oh, no, I won't change it. I won't second it.
You won't second.
You won't
All right,
second
this
it.
is-
Carrie, would you please? Would you,
I'll second it and then ask the question about what the change is.
okay. All right, we have a motion made and second. Now you can ask the question.
Okay, the change was from
It's 81 cent.
84 to
For
81.
manufactured homes.
Okay, and that is a decrease?
That's
keeping It's it the the
That's the
same.
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 So that's not a change?
No, it's not.
No, it's not a
It's the
change from
current.
today's.
It's a change from what the city manager recommended.
The pink was
Oh,
84.
city manager recommended
right.
84 cents for
Okay,
RVs.
okay, I think I'm back with you now.
Okay, so we had a motion made and seconded. And Judy, please, if you...
Councilman Hunt?
Aye.
Councilman Krieger?
No.
Councilwoman Crawford?
Aye.
Councilman Marie?
Aye.
Councilman Freeman? Councilman Southall?
Aye.
And Mayor House.
Aye.
Mr. Mayor, the motion carries by a vote of 6 to 1.
Okay?
Finally, Mr. Mayor, I'll make a motion to adopt an ordinance to appropriate funds to the various governmental funds within the city of Virginia for fiscal year 2010, 2011,
Okay?
in the purple.
Right. Is there a second for the purple?
Second.
Okay. All right, we have a motion made and seconded, and we adopt that ordinance as well. Any other concerns or comments? If not, Judy, please.
Councilwoman Crawford?
It's not enough, but aye.
Councilman Hunt?
Aye.
Councilman Southall?
Aye.
Councilman Krieger?
No.
Councilman Freeman?
Aye.
Councilman Marie?
Aye.
And Mayor House.
Aye.
Mr. Mayor, the motion carried by a vote of 6 to 1.
Okay, thank you, ma'am, and thank you all for your comments. And you put in a lot of time, a lot of effort, a lot of nights, and it is appreciated. Okay, let's move on into new business. First item is refinancing Virginia Resources Authority, or the VRA debt. Randy?
Mr. Mayor, this is a relatively minor item as compared to your last discussions, but recently we were notified by the Virginia Resource Authority of an opportunity to refinance a portion of debt, which is VRA debt that the city has, as part of a larger VRA refinancing. This is debt relating to our utilities fund. If you approve that, we anticipate total savings, net savings, over the period of the loan to be approximately $47,000, and the savings would accrue in the way of a lesser loan payments from the utility fund. Davenport is here if you'd like to speak with him. Teresa's here as well. They work together on it.
Okay, and any questions of the manager or the representatives from Davenport or Teresa?
I guess what I need to understand is, okay, what does it mean to the city of Poquoson? I think the people need to understand what it means to them.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of council.
Good evening, sir. Thank you for being here.
Pleasure to be here. Kyle Alex and I anticipated that potential question. Let me just say, as a background, the city has a 2002 loan that's outstanding, and that loan runs for roughly another 11 years. And so the interest rates on those loans right now are basically approximately 2.2% out to about 4.5%. I'm just rounding off. That's what it is right now. What we are recommending that you do is piggyback onto their pool program. The Virginia Resource Authority will probably issue upwards of some $150 million of debt in refinancing for many local governments, including yours, if you approve this. And as a result of that, what it'll do, simply put, is save in today's dollars. Our estimate is about $50,000 over that period net. That number comes to roughly, depending upon the year, about $5,000 a year, give or take. And so to answer your question, what will it cost you to issue this? Again, that's a net number. The local cost of issuance will be $5,000. So your cost, if you would be about $5,000. Your savings would be about $55,000. So net, you're about $50,000, simply put. And that's the way I would answer that question as I understood it. So that's the way.
So we'd save $5,000 a year.
Yes, sir, roughly. And let me make one more point. We like this idea because, again, we're transferring from being at an interest rate, again, very solid interest rate in the mid-2s up to the mid-4s, to a rate that basically is in the mid-1s to the high 2s, low 3s. So it's a very straightforward refinancing. It's not extending anything. It's simply taking advantage of something that you're able to do, and that's, again, pretty much straight fundamental 101 refinancing. Nothing's being pushed out.
Question I always have for you, of course, is how much would we be paying you to arrange for this refinancing, and is that included in these numbers?
That's what I just said, the local cost. We are being paid $2,500 of that $5,000, and there'll be $2,500 to your local legal counsel. That's the local cost that you incur.
And if this doesn't go through, we don't pay those costs?
That's correct. That's right.
So it's a win-win.
Yes, sir. This is as straightforward as something as we get an opportunity to come in front of you.
It's another one of those items that, just kind of
Just paid for,
shows dollar signs. I mean,
you just paid for Kids Island, so,
We better not spend this $5,000 in one place.
seed money, and we've already talked about the seed money, and they're here tonight to tell us there's another $50,000, and we're worried about how we're going to pay for Kids Island. I'm not.
Well, this is $5,000 a year, $50,000 over 10
We
years.
Understand.
Yeah.
we're just saying, start adding them up as you go through the year,
Right.
and you get a better perspective.
Okay, any other questions of?
I had one clarification.
ma'am.
You said that the interest rate will be low, below 1 up to maybe 2.
Well, the low
But
ones-
it gets set. It's not,
Yes,
this is
ma'am.
not
Yes.
floating.
And the
want
reason
to
I
make
gave you
sure
that
people know
different
that.
numbers is because each fiscal year has an interest rate set to it. It's a fixed rate loan. So as a result of that, you'll be exchanging, the last year, for example, has a 4.54% rate. That's your current rate. That'll probably be something around, 3.1, 3.2%, something like that.
I
That's
thought
what
so. I
we're
just
looking
wanted to
at.
clarify for the public. Thank you.
Is this a lock of going through? I mean, the way Tom mentioned it, it could not, that there's a chance that it won't be approved or something like that?
Well, the point is, if you're not in a mode where you have this level of savings, this approximate level of savings, then it won't go through. That's correct. Then it will be put on hold indefinitely, the financing, and could be revisited next fall. The Virginia Resource Authority goes to the marketplace twice a year, and so this is what we call their spring sale, which is supposed to occur basically about May 25th. That's what we're thinking about. 2 to 3 weeks from now is when they're planning on going to the marketplace.
And we have the financing now to do it, though.
I'm sorry?
We have the financing now to do it? I mean, we're pretty
Yes.
comfortable as far as getting it approved at this time?
Well, if you approve it right now at this time, then we'll just wait on the marketplace, and if it stays an approximate,
Percent, yeah.
then we'll be there. If not, simply, again, we've not counted on it, and I know Mr. Wheeler's not counted on this in his budget subsequently for this refinancing, but again, we'll know with certainty probably about May 25th, 26th. It's always possible that it could be delayed a week or two, but basically, we're going to know about June 1 if it goes through.
Thank you.
Okay, other questions? Any comments? Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you,
sir.
Mr.
Appreciate it.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, I do.
Mr. Mayor, I make a motion that we adopt an ordinance authorizing the issuance and sale of a general obligation sewer refunding bond in a maximum principal amount of up to $900,000 of the city of Poquoson, Virginia, providing for the forms, details, and payment thereof.
Thank you, sir. Okay, thanks for the second as well. Okay. I'm sorry, Randy, did you? I'm sorry. Okay, we have a motion made and seconded. We adopt the ordinance. Are there other concerns, other questions? If not, Judy, please.
I'm assuming this is an emergency measure, adopt tonight.
Or dispense with second reading.
Second
Councilwoman,
yeah.
Councilwoman Crawford.
Aye.
Councilman Hunt.
Aye.
Councilman Southall.
Aye.
Councilman Krieger.
Aye.
Councilman Freeman.
Aye.
Councilman Marie.
Aye.
And Mayor Helsing.
Aye.
Mr. Mayor, the motion carried by a vote of 7-0.
All right, thank you, Judy. Item 2 is a resolution authorizing acceptance of grant for Messick Point Pump Out Facility. Randy?
Mr. Mayor, as you may recall, Late last summer, early last fall, we discussed as part of a council meeting whether or not the city should move ahead with excuse me, the installation of its existing purchased equipment to establish a second pump out at Messick Point, and also whether or not the city should provide pump out services both there and at Wren's Road, continued through the token system or provide it free of charge. Council at that time said, let's hold off on that decision. Let's see what kind of grants we may be able to find. I was able to identify a grant, write it on your behalf, and we have received notice of an award of $2,090 that would be sufficient to pay for the piping and electrical work and our labor costs associated with the installation of the equipment at Messick, and also provide monies which would offset our operating costs at both Wren's and Messick Point for 1 year, so we could do away with the token system for a year to see if it had the desired impact in terms of people coming. Nothing in the grant requires a match on our end, and there's nothing that says we could not go back to the token system at the end of the year if we're not getting the type of results that we want. And we need to formally accept this, or they will be releasing the money in the near future. So I bring it to you and ask you how you would like to proceed.
All right. Thank you, sir. Any questions of Randy?
Mr. Mayor, I'll make a motion that we adopt a resolution of accepting a grant for pump-out facilities at Messick Point and Wren's Road.
Okay.
Second.
All right, we have a motion made and seconded. We adopt the resolution. No comments, questions? Tom?
First, Randy, I'd like to say thank you for going off, taking the initiative, getting the grant. That's very good. One thing that I'd like to ask is that we do make it, if there's any way we can with talking to Bob Speechley, if we can make this so that we don't have tokens, or we don't charge anything for the tokens. And in conjunction with this, if we could also have if you could talk to the VMRC to see if they could do some inspections of some of the boats to make sure that they are using this, because I think that's their jurisdiction. I mean, we're giving the people the opportunity, and I don't think anybody wants us to be having people living on board discharging into the waters. So if you could check into that, I'd appreciate it, because we're giving them the opportunity here to use these facilities, and that's what they're there for, is to use them.
Okay, anything else? Okay, please.
Councilman Southall?
Aye.
Councilman Freeman?
Aye.
Councilman Marie?
Aye.
Councilwoman Crawford?
Aye.
Councilman Krieger?
Aye.
Councilman Hunt?
Aye.
And Mayor Helsing?
Aye.
Mr. Mayor, the motion carried by a vote of 7-0.
All right, thank you, Mayor. Let's move on to item 3. It's a discussion of revised flood maps. Randy?
Yes, sir. Since we last met together, we have received the new draft flood maps from FEMA. I'd like to ask Ken Somerset to come. He is our floodplain manager and the person that heads up the committee that's working to implement our hazard mitigation plan, and can summarize what these are, and I'd be happy to get any direction the council may wish to provide.
Okay, thank you. Hey, Ken?
Good evening, sir. Members of council, I would like, this is one set of 3 that we have from FEMA. These are preliminary updated flood maps. We have 2 paper, and then we also have them on digital copies. The main changes have been that they have taken our aerial copies, our aerial photos of the city, overlaid the FEMA maps on them, and they've given us, so it's given us more detail as to where a specific piece of property is located. So we'll have a better, the ability will be better to give a more specific information to when a request is made. Currently, we have no flood zone changes. We have no elevation changes as the maps are presented right now. We do have a meeting scheduled with a FEMA representative from Region 3 in Philadelphia and a representative from the contractor that drew the map, scheduled for June 2nd in the Community Development Conference Room. We've invited various people to be there to look at them, any comments we need to make. Now would be the time for us to make the changes. In the hazard mitigation plan that we adopted last fall, that the revised plan that was adopted, one of the action items we had was to reclassify certain portions of the city from the formal A zone to a coastal A zone. And to do that would take time, and it was listed as being wouldn't cost us anything except for staff time. Staff time does cost something, we know that. This is a perfect chance for us to get that done now with FEMA's blessings and to try to get them on board with us. If we don't do it now, we go back to them later, then we will have to go through the formal services of hiring a land surveyor to come out and do certain things and do a letter of map amendment, et cetera. To do the, in the memo, I tried to put a couple points to make everybody aware of the advantages to the coastal A zones means that the structure is going to be built to a higher standard. Everything will be built to a B zone standard, which means you have breakaway walls. It's like you're building right on the edge of the water, Nad's Head, someplace like that. Some of the disadvantages are the cost that can be incurred will be in that if, no matter what is done, an addition, accessory buildings, sheds, piers, garages, all those now, then they would have to be built to that same B zone standard. Again, which means that they don't have a stronger structure, so they'll be better rated for potentially something that could happen to their structures themselves. Existing structures could be, and that's the key word is could. It's no, we don't know what insurance companies are going to do. Every company has their own set of criteria that they work from. They all work under the National Flood Insurance Program policy, but they all have their own way of interpreting that. Some of them could potentially reclassify a home from a current A-zone standard, A-zone flood rate to a B-zone standard, and means that their flood insurance rates, they would still have flood insurance, but their rates would go up. It could be dramatically, it could be a little bit. There's no way of knowing what insurance companies would do with that. We would get a large number of points on the CRS program, which is something that we've been actively trying to do. It's something that the revision of the hazard mitigation plan and the 11 action items were all things that were geared towards getting us closer to getting a better rating. We're currently a 9. We're pushing for an 8. We're constantly looking at a variety of different things to pick up, whether it's 5 points or 500 points. We want them. And the overall effect of that is that the city as a whole gets all the citizens get a better flood insurance rate. The higher the number you get, the lower your premiums will be. The maps are, like I say, the flood maps are in my office, and they'd be in the conference room. We also have them digitized. So anybody has any questions or comments, I'd be more than happy to answer them at any time now, or they can come in and see them. We've made it available to the public on the cable channel and on the Twitter site. We've been trying to pass the word to people that we do have a copy of the maps if they have any questions or concerns. If they do, we can't argue the why am I paying this much insurance rate, but we're willing to look at it, and then we're willing to also express those concerns to the FEMA representatives if necessary. And then I'll also be able to help people try to get some information if they are concerned about not being rated correctly on the ways to do that. Any way we can do that to try to offer them some assistance. I'll be more than happy to answer any questions.
Okay, any questions of Ken? Well done, by the way, Ken.
Thank you. So the action that you're looking for tonight, Randy, is just whether we want to go off and update the maps to AE at this time, or do it in the future when we have to pay for it?
Well, the first portion is simply to formally brief you that this is here and to solicit your comments as council. And if the council would like us to respond back to the draft, asking that those revisions be considered or reconsidered, I'm not exactly sure where they are in the process, a resolution or a vote from council authorizing that would be appropriate.
I do have a question, and it sounded at one point during the conversation that the insurance rates might go up.
Yes,
but then toward the end of the conversation, there was
Yes, sir.
comments that the insurance rate might
Correct.
go down.
Yes,
and so, in my own mind, they conflict.
Okay.
Will you help me?
And I apologize for that. What it comes down to, we're part of the community rating system program, and that's a voluntary program that the National Flood Insurance started years ago, and it's a way to, as an incentive for jurisdictions to become more proactive, make it more widely known to people in the city, all the various services that are out there, that you are in a flood zone area. Part of that is that you get, it's a rating from 1 to 10. The higher the number, the better the overall rate of the city would be. The best anybody in the United States currently has is there are only 2 or 3 7s out there, and there's only a few 8s. It's very hard to get. So to get it, you've really got to work at it. Part of that is that the more things you do, the more points you gain. Once you reach a level, you have to maintain that every year. We get audited every year, and then every 5 years, we will go back through a very detailed formal audit. Again, part of what it does is it makes everybody in the city would stand to get a chance from a 5% reduction that they currently get to go to an 8 would be almost a 10% reduction. So the insurance rates can reduce, yes. The other part of doing from the coastal from an A zone to a coastal A zone, the potential there is that your insurance, you're going to a more stringent standard. You're going to a more stringent flood zone. So to build in a more stringent flood zone, you have to build to a higher standard. The existing homes that are already built won't meet that standard. So it is potentially possible that they would have to pay a higher insurance rate later on. We've seen a lot of homes now in the past year that have had to pay a higher rate because they don't have enough flood vents in their house. And we work with 2 or 3 people every week trying to give them advice on how to, a cost-effective way of putting flood vents in their house or their garage, and then also being able to draft letters for them without them having to incur the cost of a surveyor to get a new elevation certificate. And we've seen the rates drop down. But again, that's each parent company has their own standards that they look at. So I'm sorry for the confusion, but that's where a quick synopsis of the difference in between.
I think I wanted to clarify something too. The changing from, was it A to VE?
From an A zone to a coastal A.
Okay. This isn't really an option that we have. We're not voting to change it. It's something that it will be done.
You as council have the option of doing that, yes ma'am.
But we can't say we want to stay A.
Right now, the way the maps are now, yes, they stay A. Until FEMA comes in, and for FEMA to do that, it would be on another full-fledged revision of the maps. And the maps we're working off now were last done in '82. So it's not going to happen for a long time. FEMA, the word from FEMA when they were redoing these maps was all they were doing was trying to digitize everything. They weren't looking to remap cities. They weren't looking to reestablish zones or put new elevations in. In the action plan and the hazard mitigation plan that was adopted, I believe it was in September, October of last year, one of the action items, part of that plan had 11 action items that council agreed to, that they said within 5 years we want to have these 11 items completed. One of those was to look at certain areas of the city that were more susceptible to B-zone flooding and classify those as coastal A zones. So the coastal A zone came about as a way to try to give a buffer between an A zone where residual water would come to your house and put slower pressure versus somebody who lives right on the mouth of the bay or on a road that's going to catch the wave action. So they tried to come up with that as a buffer zone for that.
Okay. I guess my comment, Randy, and everybody else can kind of give you that. It's a very complicated issue. It's also very important that we get this right. Okay? I don't want to take FEMA's aerial view, lash it down over top of our land masses, and say that's it. It does, when we talk in acronyms, what we don't really say is what those acronyms mean. V is, according to back here, is vulnerable, okay? and you tell an insurance company that your property now is in the V zone, and you didn't do any improvements, then I guarantee your rates are not going to go down.
No, sir, I agree.
Okay?
Right.
And what this also says is that and here are some of the areas that you're talking about, Sandy Bay Beach Road, Hunts Neck Road. No question that those areas need to be looked at. But it says if you rebuild, you're going to need to do so on pilings, and all those sorts of things. I'm not even sure that our codes recognize where we might need to go. So my word here would be cautiously proceed and communicate with a lot of neighborhoods. I don't think one meeting on June 2nd is going to do this justice to the number of households that this could affect. So what I would like to see us do is come up with a plan. It doesn't sound like we're against any, and the answer may end up being the same. But we don't want to just say, yep, well, it's the federal government, they do everything right. Well, I'm having some real issues with that right now, and satellites don't necessarily say everything that you know on the ground. We have a lot of history of what flooded, what didn't flood. We need to roll that data into the overview maps. I don't think we can get that taken care of in one meeting, and I think we need to meet neighborhood by neighborhood with the affected groups so that they understand totally what's going on. So I think what I'd like to see us do is come up with a plan to do that, and we ought to be able to work that through the summer, I would think.
Could I ask a point of clarification
Sure.
for Ken? The draft FEMA maps that we got, we were given a defined period of time if we wanted to comment on them. And that comment period was 30 days?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And they didn't give us much time.
Can we ask for an extension?
That could certainly be the city's comment, that we think it's too important to rush into it, and that we would request a reasonable extension. We can.
Given the last Northeaster that we had, I mean, there are hundreds of folks, and you know this, Kim, because you've tried to assist hundreds of folks that are having a lot of difficulty with FEMA, not with your office and what you do. And the maps just don't line up. They just don't.
Right.
And I think it's huge. I mean, I think it's bigger than like Gene said, one meeting. I really do.
It's certainly bigger than 30 days.
It's just, to ask for the extension, or at least to...
Would it make sense to, one, convey a request for an extension, but also to extend an invitation for these people to come here and actually speak with the city council about it?
Absolutely.
We'd have the benefit of getting it on the TV and expand.
Well, I would encourage us to use some of the local FEMA talent that we may have had in the past to help guide us.
And we've got a group
as consultant, including those that you bought your house from.
Could help us with.
And I'd like to get an oar in the water here or two on this, because I remember when we went through the hazard mitigation plan, I mean, this is part of it, to go off and to do this. And the primary driver of it was, in my mind, twofold. One is, if we do this, it's going to help everybody in the city get a lower rate on their flood insurance. That's the good part. The bad part is there's the potential for people in the areas that go into this high velocity area. I think it's waves over 1.5 feet type of thing is what they're guesstimating, and so it's very limited to where it is on the maps. Can you estimate how many places would be affected?
Well, there's a list of them.
Yeah,
back here on page 2.
It's a list, but when you look at the map, it's small slices of areas, so bear with me, it's going to be a few places. And I can tell you that was one thing. It's going to save everybody in the town some money if we can go off and do these things, which is great. And the other thing is, I've looked at the design standards, and I really, really wish my house had been built to that design standard, because with water coming under my house on the cinder block foundation it's got, every time it comes in and every time the water goes out, I get sloughing, and I have to go in there and I have to do some things to further reinforce it, and this would make it much better. So I really think we owe it to people for the new construction, definitely to go off and do this.
Just want to make sure that we have the ordinances in place that support this, number one. We can't just say we encourage you to go do it if we're not recognizing, because one of the things that's quickly going to come under fire is height of structure. You start putting stuff on pilings, then you're starting to deal with height issues. So we have to make sure that we have a unified plan to do it right, and that's why I'm saying we need to go more methodically, more slowly, and yes, that's a goal of the council to do all the actions of the hazard mitigation thing, but we need to do so smartly, and we need to make sure that the people that it affects know exactly what's going on, and I don't think one meeting's going to do that, and I don't think it's really fair of a federal agency to say, after we've worked on it for this many years, you got 30 days to comment on it. Because the other thing it doesn't address is any mitigation that local property owners may or may not have already done. So,
yes, sir.
How are we going to factor that into the, quote, the satellite overview?
Right. In those cases, that would be a case where the homeowner has the option of asking for a letter of map amendment or a letter of map revision. And that's where they would contact the city, they would contact the land surveyor, they would fill out the paperwork, submit everything to Region 3 in Philadelphia, and then where it goes from there.
Well, the experience with that is that the city does its part.
Right.
And you never hear from the federal government or the FEMA side of it. And those people are still struggling.
Right.
And one other thing I think we need to do is look at the projected vulnerable areas versus the hard data that we already have as a city from past flooding to make certain that those match up.
Right. Now, one thing I've heard, and I'm confused over now, this is to make coastal A zones have to meet coastal V zone building criteria.
Well, coastal A zones have always, when they developed coastal A zone, they were designed to be the buffer between the A and the B. Coastal A always has had to meet B zone standards. Yes.
Don't our ordinances already say if you're in a coastal V zone, here's what you have to do?
Yes, sir.
So we already have the ordinances that say how to do the building on the books.
How to do the building, but do our setbacks and all that stuff, taking that into account as a special thing, or have you got to go to the BZA? Because now you're higher on the, basically a lot of this stuff is set, our building codes and stuff are set for single-family dwellings of a normal size on a normal foundation, and you have certain sight lines from side yard setbacks.
Yes.
Are we have to make sure that all of this stuff, if you're in a V zone, you get, here's this set of ordinances.
Right. Really, that has been partially addressed when we discussed that when council adopted the 1-footer freeboard. It was concerned about that, and recently when council revised the zoning ordinance to pick up the average height, the roof line to the mid-roof, is really taking that into account. That would not be, I don't foresee that being a problem. For somebody who had to build a very massive structure to...
But I want to make sure that the answer is yes, we've got it, not, yeah, let's go do this.
Right, yes, sir.
Go tell FEMA we're on board, and then we haven't really done our homework.
Right.
And that's what I'm saying.
To address Councilman Marie's concern, the main thing that would have to be changed ordinance-wise, we would have to plug in the words coastal A zone into our ordinance.
Into our coastal V zone ordinance.
Yes, sir. In the way our ordinance is set now, we list A and B zones. We just have to add the words coastal A.
So we do have ordinances on how to do coastal V that we're going to, it'll only be a couple of words, but I agree with Gene's concern. We need to make sure that we got the height and the other stuff.
Yes, sir.
Because if you're putting a house up on stilts, like some of the ones down on the end of Brown's Neck have been done, which is the smart way to build them, you ought to be able to go higher because that just looks natural when you're up on stilts to go higher.
Yep.
That's also an item that we actively address from the plan review and zoning review stages of a drawing. We look to check the height of the house on paper, and if we get anywhere near where we're going to start reaching our maximum height, we we sit down and talk with them, because we don't know what the height of the foundation is going to be on paper. You can show me 3 feet and you end up needing 10 feet, but we do address that, and we do try to catch it as soon as they put a roof on. We go down and make inspections at the earliest stages possible to guarantee that the height won't be anything that would cause a problem, so we can try to address any potential problems that may arise as early as possible.
Big issue. I'd just like to see us get to the neighborhoods with it. Okay?
Yeah. I'd like to get it run to ground too, and make sure that we get it done so that we don't have to wait 5 or 10 years to lower everyone's flood insurance rates by 5%. I mean, I think that's a pretty big.
If that's the net.
Yeah, and I think that was the average, looking at South Carolina or something, where they had gone from different coastal zones. I mean, I know I pay a lot in flood insurance, and a lot of other people do too.
Okay.
Might I suggest a course of action based on your discussion? First, without objection, I'll write a letter to the FEMA representatives tomorrow asking for an extension, explaining the importance of this map revision and the issues involved to the city. Second, I will actually invite them to come and appear in the near future at a council meeting to answer your questions face
I'd
to
rather
face.
just have a public information session where
Okay.
the public can participate instead of just presenting to council. We'll come to the public information session.
Okay. We could suggest a public information session. All right, that's fine.
Especially for the people in the affected areas.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
Right.
And that they would get at least a personal letter that says, hey, this is going on, come on, or call, whatever.
And most people are affected.
Not like June 2nd from 9 to 11 in the morning, but something in the evening that would be, that would be more.
If we're asking the
be more
folks from FEMA to
accessible.
come, well, we will be somewhat, if they're going to host the meeting, we're going to have to work around it, but I understand that, and
They can come back in the evening.
we can
That's the
we
second.
can notify those folks that are in the potentially affected areas first, that the draft maps are here, and then we can do a follow-up when we get this thing scheduled, assuming we can, with FEMA to let them know when and where.
Absolutely, and that's exactly what I was looking for, because you want FEMA to tell their side of the issue, but you want the city to be able to step up and say, what does this mean to you from our side? And are we prepared to do our part from all aspects?
Okay.
Yes.
Got it.
Okay, is that all right with everybody? All right, the discussion is ended. Thank you, Ken. Appreciate it. This is an item that won't be controversial, I don't think. It's a resolution canceling the first meeting of the month of June, July, and August 2010.
Mr. Mayor, I move we approve a resolution canceling the first meeting of the months of June, July, and August 2010.
Thank you, sir. Second. All right, we have a motion made and second that we adopt that resolution. I want to ask for any comments. Ms. Wiggins, please.
I got a question,
I'm
sir.
sorry.
Okay.
Can't imagine.
A retreat with the Planning Commission and IDA will be held in place of the June meeting. Now, is that the only meeting we're going to have in June, or is that what would normally be the second meeting in June?
It was intended to convey the canceled meeting, so the
Okay, so we won't have we'll have a retreat instead of a June
Unless
meeting.
something comes up.
In place of June 14th.
We'll have
We'll
the,
have a second meeting. We'll have the meeting at the second,
the retreat will be the
You will
second
meet
meeting.
twice.
right.
Yeah,
In June.
You have two meetings.
council meeting.
But my motion is only to get rid of the
Cancel the
first
regular
meeting
meeting.
of June, July, and August.
Understand. I just wanted to make sure what this really meant.
Judy, please call
That's
roll
the last
quickly.
I had trouble
All
with
right,
words.
Councilman Hunt.
Aye.
Councilman Krieger.
Aye.
Councilwoman Crawford.
Aye.
Councilman Marie.
Aye.
Councilman Freeman.
Aye.
Councilman Southall.
Aye.
And Mayor Helsel.
Aye.
Mr. Mayor, the motion carried by a vote of 7-0.
Thank you, ma'am. Move on to item 5, it's a resolution in recognition of the Poquoson High School Islander Marching Band. Randy, any comments? Any comments from council?
Mr. Mayor, I'll make a motion, we adopt the resolution in recognition of Poquoson High School Islander Marching Band.
Okay.
Second that.
All right, and we'll be seeing those folks in the near future. Hope so. Great. Okay. All right, motion made and seconded. We adopt the resolution. Ms. Williams, please.
Councilwoman Crawford.
Aye.
Councilman Hunt.
Aye.
Councilman Southall.
Aye.
Councilman Krieger.
Aye.
Councilman Freeman. Councilman Marie.
Aye.
And Mayor Helsel.
Aye.
Mr. Mayor, the motion carried by a vote of 7-0.
Thank you, Judy. And the last item is a resolution authorizing the provision of long-term care insurance for city employees. Randy?
I'd like to let Judy handle this one if I
Okay.
could, since she prepared the item.
All right.
We have an opportunity to offer to our employees long-term care insurance, which is at no cost to the city. It's being offered through VRS with Genworth Life Insurance Company. During the open enrollment period, which ends in 2 weeks, and any employee can take out the long-term care insurance without having to have a physical. So that's the criticalness of doing this, but the city has to agree to participate with VRS and offer this to our employees. And it's very timely in that tomorrow there is the city is having a, I guess you call it a fair, so to speak, with all of our benefits coordinators coming and offering services to our employees. And this would be offered to them, and it's something that they individually go online and opt for. We don't sit down and take applications, so it's not time consuming for any of our employees.
Is it for full-time employees only?
Yeah.
People who are already receiving
And their
benefits?
families, any of their
Right.
families and their spouses. So it's a great opportunity, especially for the younger people to get started with this option.
We, as we make this motion, does that need to be done as a second reading deferred, or is it just, this is
It's a
good enough?
resolution, so it just takes one vote.
Well, Mr. Mayor, I'll make a motion that we adopt a resolution authorizing the provision of long-term care insurance for city employees.
Okay.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. We adopt the resolution. Any comments? Questions? Okay. Judy, please.
Councilwoman Crawford.
Aye.
Councilman Hunt.
Aye.
Councilman Southall.
Aye.
Councilman Krieger.
Aye.
Councilman Freeman.
Aye.
Councilman Marie.
Aye.
And Mayor Helsel.
Aye.
Mr. Mayor, the motion carried by a vote of 7-0.
Thank you, Judy, very much. Mr. Wheeler.
Mr. Mayor, I have 4 items I'd like to bring to your attention. 2 are relatively short. First, reminder, this coming Friday is our first in our 2-movie series of Movies in the Park. It's free of charge. It will be at Municipal Park, sort of in the big area in front of the pool. And we would love to see everybody out there. And again, there's no charge for it, and it's open to everybody. And thanks to Parks and Recreation and Dave for putting that together. Second, just a note of thank you to all the persons that participated in our pool cleanup day this past weekend. We had a couple of dozen people, including citizens that love the pool, and also members of the Exchange Club and the Lions Club also were participating as well, and it's terrific. If you've gone over to see it, you can see the facelift. It looks real good. And then we took the pool cover off, and we found out that we had several tons of sand in our pool, so we're going to take care of that. 2 other items. As the council discussed at your last meeting, you discussed a desire, which I share, to get Kids Island, or the portion of Kids Island that couldn't be put back in action pretty quickly, back in action. I have worked with Dave Callis and Tom and the 3 ladies that you see there, Susan and Brenda and Debbie. We have worked together on this Kids Island and what to do, and what we have for you tonight is a suggested plan of action, which includes moving expeditiously as soon as this week, perhaps, to demolish some aspects of the park that cannot safely be put back in action, and then move rapidly to put the swings area, the wooden glider area, and redig and use some of the larger tires and reset them in a way that would be once again usable, and with the plan of getting the entire
See you later.
On In Plain Sight, now on demand.
With On Demand from Cox, a new wave of entertainment is coming your way. See what movies you can order now.
Well, the good news, Terrence, is I'll okay you to return to full duty. Bad news is you'll be experiencing moderate to severe back pain. How severe? You want to be taking something for it.
Can I get my prescription, please?